ask the gentlelady from American Samoa for her questions, comments.
Talofa lava. Thank you, Chairman Grijalva and Ranking Member Bishop, for holding this hearing today. The topic of today's hearing is a bipartisan issue I've been strongly advocating for since I was first elected to Congress. On January 6, 2009, President Bush established the Rose Atoll Marine National Monument and the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument with Proclamation 8337 and Proclamation 8336. On September 29, 2014, President Obama expanded the PRIMNIM, or Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument, with Proclamation 9173. The American Samoan government and its people were barely consulted before these monuments were established or expanded. And as a result, our local fishermen were barred from accessing the waters that Samoans have been visiting for over a millennium. The monuments serve a good purpose, and I fully support that effort, but not without local input and not at the expense of access to our people who have utilized these areas for centuries, long before any relationship with the United States. Many island economies are often heavily reliant on a single industry, and in our case, it's the fishing industry. Our tuna cannery is the dominant economic force in our community. American Samoa's economy depends on access to our own EEZ. The establishment or expansion of the monuments and the restriction of all local fishing has had a major negative impact on American Samoa. We have lost 2 out of 3 of our canneries in the last decade alone. Our fishermen are the most responsible and regulated in the world. As it stands currently, these fish swim through the monuments and are then caught by nations with little to no environmental regulations. That is not helping sustainability for the future stock. Using the Antiquities Act to close U.S. waters to domestic fisheries is a clear example of federal overreach and regulatory duplication and obstructs well-managed, sustainable U.S. fishing industries in favor of their foreign counterparts, especially when the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument was arbitrarily expanded to over 6 times its size. It is now 500,000 square miles, or an area of 3 Californias that now is off limits to U.S. domestic fishing. Congress has already passed laws that ensures the protection and conservation of ecosystems and the species contained therein, including the Magnuson-Stevenson Act. The Department of Interior has asked the President to restore regulated fishing in the monuments because of the protections already put in place by the Magnuson-Stevens Act, protections that the Antiquities Act does not have. Limited commercial fishing can be done without harm to fish stock, sustainability, or environment because Congress has already passed and continues to update laws to ensure it. The Rose Atoll and Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monuments are just 2 local examples, and the establishment and alteration of our national monuments remains a bipartisan issue affecting the whole country. We need to be looking at the Antiquities Act because any president from either party should not be permitted to establish or alter a declared monument without input from the public. To that end, I am proud to co-sponsor Mr. Bishop's Monument Reform Bill again this Congress, and I want to make it clear that I will welcome legislation from either side of the aisle that addresses this oversight. The unilateral use of an executive order when declaring sites for a national monument designation is not the right way to go about protecting our lands and waters. American Samoans and other indigenous and local groups represented here today should not have had their way of life so easily threatened by the establishment and alterations of monuments without their input. We must ensure that all parties involved have a say, and I look forward to working with the committee on addressing what I hope remains a bipartisan issue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.